I started my family tree, but without my family. Most of them don't talk to me anymore. I really can count the numbers of family members that I'm still in contact with on the fingers of my hand. Few cousins, like two cousins and one aunt, something like that. But the rest, so I had to piece my history together almost alone. My name is Pulandevii. I am French and Indian and Tamil. I'm an artist, I'm a content creator, I sell prints, and here I share slow and cozy vlogs about everyday life, my creativity process, and I share a lot about my Indian culture. I do book reviews, movie reviews, and I just share my opinions on various topics. I started building my family tree in Mauritius, inspired by the highlands' history of slavery, indenture, migration, and displacement. Being there made me realize how much of our roots can get lost if we don't try to trace them. On my Tata's Ninevanal, I thought of him again. I never really knew him. He passed away when I was 4, but recently I found some of his old papers from the colonial era about his work back then. Holding those documents made me realize how close that history still is and how little I actually know about the lives before me. Seeing those papers raised so many questions. What was his life really like under colonization? What story did he carry that no one passed down to me? That's when I understood if I don't start writing these things down now, they'll disappear forever. Even with a fractured family, a dysfunctional and toxic family, even if only few people still talk to me, this family tree helps me feel connected somehow. My grandfather never told me those stories since I wasn't really able to listen to him. I know very few things about him, and these are the things that were reported by my mother and her sister. And I guess they are their recollection of their memories. They might not be always true, but this is their version of it. My family is an Indian family, so they mostly stay silent. I think a family tree doesn't have to be complete to matter, and sometimes beginning is already an act of memory, resistance, and of love. And then on my Tata's Ninevanal death anniversary, I thought of him. I don't know why. I don't know why this year in particular. I think I also feel wanting to be more connected to some parts of my roots, especially when I see the state of my family currently. So my Tata passed away when I was 4. My mother took me to India when I was, I think, 6 months or something, to meet my Tata. I don't have, of course, any memories. I wasn't even 1, but I was fed with her telling me the meeting and her telling me how he would carry me in his arms and how I was at that age, I was already very interested in tasting biryani from their hands. I think I'm creating my own souvenirs, my own memories from these elements and sometimes from pictures that I have of my Tata at that age. Recently, I found his colonial era paperwork. So he was born in 1920 and India got its independence in 1947. And holding these papers raised so many questions. And there are so many things that I still don't know. And when reading them, I learned few things that my mother didn't think it was important maybe to share. I don't know. So it raised many questions about him, about colonization, and about everything I don't know. So in Mauritius, I decided to do my family tree. I was also inspired by one of my friends who was there at the same time, and she was very much motivated in doing research and going to the Archive Institute and reading various documents which may have critical information about her ancestors. And in Mauritius, if I understood well, you can almost trace back to, for example, the very first Indian who came to Mauritius from India, from which harbor, which day, with whom, and various information such as caste or the amount of money he had, his age, for example. And that was very fascinating to me because you can learn a lot from these informations. And this is what I saw in Mauritius. Some people are interested into looking back at their ancestry and willing to know where they come from, where exactly in India, because you can just say I'm Indian, but then where in India? What language do you speak? That's when I decided I need to start as well. But somehow things have gotten difficult. And I think this is the hardest part of it because most of my family doesn't talk to me anymore. I can't really count on them. But I do have one cousin who helped me on my paternal side to know, for example, my grandmother's parents' name, even a single name, a date, feels like a small light in this silence. And so in one night, I've been able to trace back to several generations of ancestors. And it's all because I had access to some papers, such as birth certificates, death certificates, marriage certificates, and also I think I had one called, it is a document delivered by colonial institutions at that time where you renounced to your native nationality and took the new nationality of your colonizer. So for me, my family almost all took the French nationality. And you have several informations on that, the date, the birth date, the birthplace sometimes, also the people who came with you when you've done this paperwork. So I was able to trace back, for example, my Tata's parents' name because they were with my Tata that day they did this paperwork in front of the colonial officer. But if I didn't have these papers, I don't think I would be able to go back this far. I don't think my mother would see this video, but I was able to get these documents because, as most South Asian kids, when we were children, we were also like the clerks for our family, and we were used to do paperworks, like going to some administration and do some registration, writing, claiming letters and whatnot. So I've continued doing that on and off for my mother, I don't know, regarding NRI procedure or nationality procedure sometimes for some members of her family in India. She used to send me these documents by email, and I had them still on my drive. This was actually a good find for me because otherwise I wouldn't have been able to go back this far. And I'm not done. I'm not done in this tree, but it starts to look like something. So that's good. In South Asian families, you have silences around caste, reason for migration, about trauma, things people never want to say it out loud. This project became bigger than genealogy. It is also about identity. And learning Tamil this year feels like another branch of this tree. a way to reclaim something that could have been lost. And I think my art and my boutique and my passion for cooking Indian food are a part of it too. Each piece I create feels like carrying fragments of stories my family never told me. Even silence is part of the story, and I think choosing to remember is resistance. And I know not everyone even has the chance to build a family tree. Wars, genocides, displacement, colonization erased entire generations of memory. For some, those silences are permanent. So, this is just my story, my way of holding onto the fragments I still have. What about you? I hope my story gave you some insights on what my journey is. But what about you? Have you ever tried to do your own family tree if you can? Or if history or trauma made it impossible, how do you reconnect with your roots? I would love to read your perspectives and your take on the subject of a family tree. Please share them in the comments.